Hi, my name is Jeff Walker. I am with Lock Connection. Today I want to show you the difference between a shock and a damper. Now they look very similar together. You won't even notice them if they were different. If I had it like that, you would think both are exactly the same things, but they're not. I'm also going to tell you when to use a damper and when to use a shock. So the damper, which is this one, as you can see, when I push it, it stays in any position I put it in. It only lets it come out so fast, the dampening effect, as you pull it out. So it's based on gravity. So when you have weight on here, it's only going to let it come out so fast. The shock, on the other hand, is always in the open position. It's always trying to open. So you're forcing something open. It never stays in the closed position unless something is holding it in the closed position. Those are the two main differences between the shock and the damper. And I'm going to show you right here when to use a damper. So this is a drop down shelf. Now, some people will use shocks in this, and I'm going to show the difference in the video on how it reacts. So I just have an RFID card on here to release it. So right now I have a shock on it, and the shock I have on it is the same one that I'm showing here. Part number is ZQL 218-77-15-6-10 Newton. So the newtons is how much force does it hold back when it's opening up. So right here, this shelf is about 11 inches off the wall. And this is very important. When you start getting 8 inches, 7 inches off the wall, it's very hard for a damper to start to extend or for the shelf to start to fall because there's not enough weight in it away from the fulcrum, which is right here where the hinges are. The further away you are on there and the more weight you have, the easier it is for the shelf to drop down. In this case, it's 11 inches. There's actually no weight in here at all. It's very easy for the shelf to drop down and the damper to allow it to come down nice and smooth. So this is how, I'm going to show you one more time. This is how the damper works. Comes down nice and smooth, controlled. Now the more weight you stick in here, you would want to have a higher damper rating. So this is 10 Newton. We have them in multiple ratings up to 100 Newtons. So this shelf is about 23 inches long. If I was making one that's 36 inches or 46 inches long, I would want to use a higher damper rating. And once you get over 24 inches, you probably want to think about using 2 to keep it coming down at the same rate on both sides. But on a 24 inch one damper is fine. That's what most people use. But the more weight that you're going to have in it, the higher end value you need to let it come down nice and smooth. Because if I stick 100 pounds in this right now, it's going to come down super fast because this only holds back, it's about 5 pounds is what it's rated for. So that's the damper. I'm going to have the next video. I'm going to show you what it looks like with a shock. Okay, I'm back. I changed that damper out with a shock. The difference is instead of 10 Newton shock, I put a 5 Newton shock in there, and I'm going to tell you why once I open it. So when I scan this, you're gonna see what the difference is right away. I'm going to put my hand here because it's going to come down pretty fast. So it pushes. This is trying to push as hard as it can. In this case, it only has 5 Newtons, about 2 pounds of force. But if I totally took this off and just dropped it, it would come down almost just as fast on its own. So you're asking me, why do you have that on there? Well, let me tell you. So if I'm putting this in a shelf that's only 7 or 8 inches long, it's probably not going to drop down with a damper in it, because unless you put enough weight in there for the damper to overcome the hinges and get past the fulcrum point where it can actually drop. So in shorter shelves that come off the wall, people will use a shock just to push it so it starts to open. So in this case, this is a 5 Newton, and most people will use a 5, maybe 10 Newton, 20 Newton at max to start to push open the shelf when they have shorter shelves. Now, sometimes you can get the shock, or you can get the damper to work correctly in that application, but it is hard. It just depends on how you're mounting it. And I should also mention, so when you mount them, just gonna use a damper here. You wanna try to have the back portion up as high as possible and this portion here down as low as possible, because when it's closed, it's gonna be, you want it to be like that. So you want it to be as close to vertical, which is never gonna be vertical. So this would be almost horizontal when you close it. So you want it to be slightly tilted down in the closed position. You also always wanna have the rod, this part right here, facing down in the closed position as much as possible. That's due to, there's a small amount of oil in here. It lubricates the seals and keeps them lubricated, so it will you know, come out, go out and in much smoother, and it just will last a lot longer for you. Most of these applications, people aren't using these 100 times a day, so it's not going to be detrimental if you have them the other way. It's just better practice to put them the right way to begin with, and it'll just last longer. So that's kind of the difference between a shock and a damper, and how you would use it, and when to use a shock and when to use a damper in a drop down situation. Now obviously if you have something that you're pushing up, you're going to want to use a shock. So anything that you're trying to push open, you want to use a shock. The damper is only used for drop down applications or anything you want to keep the item coming down at a controlled rate, and you don't want to just push it open as fast as possible. So that's pretty much all I have for today on shocks and dampers. So please like us, subscribe on our videos so we can keep doing these for you. We are going to link all the other hardware we have here on this shelf in our bio. I didn't mention any of it, but we will link everything I have here in the bio. If you have any questions about concealment furniture or concealment hardware, give me a call. Definitely, we are experts here, and I can certainly help you out. Thank you.